member from Lee and Scott and parts of Wise County and the great city of Norton, Virginia, Terry Kilgore, Republican, District 1. Hey, Delegate, how you doing?
Hey, great to be with you. John, welcome back from Iowa.
Thank you. It's good to be back to the balmy weather in Virginia. I left Iowa last night, finally got on a plane about 6:50 p.m. or so, and it was 7 degrees, so it's great.
Oh, my goodness.
Great to be back here.
Heat wave back here.
I know, it is a heat wave here, no question. And by the way, for our listeners, we turn right around on Saturday. We head to Manchester, and I'll be in Manchester, New Hampshire for the New Hampshire primary. We're live at the Radisson Hotel Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we got a big lineup there, so don't want to miss that. We'll be live in Manchester, bringing you all the action just like we always do. The other guys that compete with me, they sit in the office and read the paper, not us. We get out there, tell you what's going on, get right in the middle of it, right? Now, Delegate, House and Senate have passed bills related to Clean Power Plan. This is kind of Energy Week here,
right,
at the Capitol. And tell us about that, and tell us, Delegate, about what you're trying to do in this realm.
Well, what we're trying to do in the legislative branch, we're trying to make sure that we, as legislators, get a say in whatever clean power plan goes forward, because we've watched what Washington has tried to push down on us, and we want to make sure that we let the administration know where we are on this clean power plan, because as you know, I represent the coal mining region of Southwest Virginia. And if you look at that region, we've been decimated by some of the regulations that EPA has put on us, and we're losing jobs and more jobs, and we got to put a stop to it. And sometimes just by regulation, the federal government has put a lot of coal mines out of business right now.
Well, look, they certainly have, and it's been devastating to the economy in Southwest Virginia. We talked to many of your colleagues, both in the State House and in Washington, on this, and it's annoying. So you've also got all of these crazy EPA rules that the Obama administration is trying to shove down our throats. Also, anything going on in the state right now to develop compliance with some of these plans?
Well, of course we have to comply with as many of them as we can, or do the least amount of possible is I guess what we're trying to do. And through Commerce and Labor, we have a lot of that I chair. We have a lot of all the energy bills comes through that committee in the House, and we're trying to take a approach that protects our jobs, that protects our coal mining, protects our gas industry that we have in Virginia. Because if you look at if you force our incumbent utilities to use renewables, it's going to drive the price up, and the reliability goes down. So it has to be an all of the above. You can't just do renewables. I think that's what a lot of people misunderstand about the whole energy process. Renewables, they're just not reliable at this time.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. And Delegate Kilgore, there are a lot of bills coming up on Energy Night that appear to take aim at natural gas pipelines that are being built in Virginia. And just truth in advertising, I am a proponent of building these pipelines because they create jobs. To get jobs and companies that come into the state, you have to have energy. Right. And I'm a big proponent of them. But how does the committee reconcile these bills, especially with the private property concerns of landowners that might normally be in favor of a pipeline, but they don't want it going through their backyard?
And that's the problem you have, whether it's pipelines or whether it's power lines going through neighborhoods. You always have that, not in my backyard. It has to go somewhere. What our job is, I believe, is to not stop pipelines, not to stop transmission lines, but to make sure that there's a process there and that the companies follow a process. And I'm like you. This is a boom boom for Virginia if we can get these jobs here, build pipelines, get workers working, get gas going through the lines. I think all in all, it's a win-win for Virginia. So we're going to have to couple. When it comes to committee, we're going to have to look at both sides. But there has to be no's not a solution. There has to be a way that a pipeline can be built in Virginia.
You know what? I think you're onto something. I think that's a great mantra. The answer can't be no. No can't be the answer. We got to find a way. Delegate, similarly, there's a lot of bills restricting the construction of transmission power lines, as you know.
Right.
This is all the same issue. So I don't know. I mean, how do we grow economically if we can't get power to companies that want to be in Virginia? I mean, this just doesn't make any sense.
I've told everyone that files a bill like that, I always say, listen, we will take that economic development in Southwest Virginia. Clear and simple. That's what you have to have. You have to grow jobs. In order to grow jobs, you got to have energy. So, like as I've said time and time again, no is not the solution. We have to work together to try to come up with a solution to make sure that whether it's a data center that needs a lot more power, whether it's getting gas to our ports, we've got to come together as Virginians and make sure that we have the answer and we have a Virginia solution to the problem.
Well, and in order to do that, there needs to be power, there needs to be lines, there needs to be energy, and that's really the bottom line. Now, I know you're with me on this, Delegate Kilgore, but there's a lot of push right now for, renewable energy, wind, solar, etc. But the thing is that people don't realize, and I just wanted to talk about this, all of that requires new transmission lines to feed the power into the grid. It's just not magic. It's just not like you put up a solar panel and magically the power appears. It still has to get through a meter. It still has to get into the home or the office, into the area. And do you think that people that are so excited about solar and wind power also understand that in order for that to be a reality, you have to have the transmission lines to go with it?
Well, I don't. I think, as you said, John, that a lot of folks think you magically put a solar panel in or a wind turbine in, and it just goes to the grid. Well, somebody's already a company that our incumbent electricity companies have already invested in the grid. So there's a lot of stranded costs there that they're already out. To put that back on the grid, how much do you pay for that? How much does it cost? So there's a lot of things that go into that equation that have to be considered, and that's one of those items up here that is rocket science. I divide things up here. That's not rocket science versus that is rocket science. Mm-hmm. It is rocket science. There's a lot of folks that are down at the State Corporation Commission that deal with that every day, day in and day out, and that's what we're going to have to be dealing with on Energy Night here next Tuesday to try to balance those concerns.
Well, they do have to be balanced, but you need jobs and you need energy. And we have a big listening audience in Southwest Virginia. As everybody knows, the economy is really, really struggling there. A big piece of the economic chaos that's gone on in the Southwest has to do with President Obama's continual war on coal. Now, tell me, what do the tax credits for coal, Delegate Kilgore, mean to your region?
Well, it's a lifeline right now, John. If we don't have the tax credits, more companies will go out of business. That's just plain and simple. We have asked to continue those tax credits. Governor McAuliffe has yesterday. They're claiming they're not going to extend them. So I think it's just a war on the whole Central Appalachian area right now. We have to have the tax credits to remain competitive. The world market on coal is down. The world market on energy is down just because of the economy. And the only way that we can remain competitive with our metallurgical coal and our steam coal in Southwest Virginia and the whole Central Appalachian areas is to have some type of tax credit. And this tax credit has worked well, and it's saving jobs, and these jobs are $85,000 to $90,000 a year jobs. And I always hear there's a lot of jobs in solar, there's a lot of jobs in these renewables, but those jobs are half the salary.
You're right. I mean, these are real jobs, and I just want to be sure that my audience understands here. This tax credit, there's a move in the General Assembly backed by the governor to get rid of it. But look, there's no other tax credit in Virginia that is directly, not like a dotted line, like maybe directly tied to jobs. Tax credit goes away, jobs go away.
Right. I think that's exactly right. And I always tell my colleagues down here, if this was in Northern Virginia and you were losing these type of jobs, the governor would be up there. They would be holding town hall meetings. They'd be sending all his secretary, all his cabinets up there to make sure that we try to stop the bleeding. So we're not getting the same. We're not getting the same treatment in Southwest Virginia.
Well, that's it. It's almost like the Democrats have written the region off. They know they're not going to win there. They know it's deeply red. And so it's almost like economic war, sacrificing one region where they know they're going to get more voters for the other region. And I think that's despicable. But look, if the tax credits expire, another 1,000 miners are going to lose their jobs next January. I mean, it's maddening to me that people wouldn't be up in arms over this. I mean, especially the Democrats on the other side of the aisle talking about jobs and how important it is to get jobs and how important it is to get the economy goes. And we have Governor McAuliffe, who I think basically has been a good governor in going around the world and bringing jobs to Virginia. But if there's no energy, they're not going to come.
No, they're not going to come. And as you say, listen, I agree with the governor. We can work together on creating jobs, but just throw us the lifeline and help us with the coal tax credit. We'll keep jobs. We won't be sending money, governmental services back down to Southwest Virginia if we can keep these jobs.
That's the bottom line. We've got to keep these jobs in Southwest Virginia. People there have suffered enough, and it's almost like you're sacrificing one area politically for Northern Virginia. And, man, I got a real problem with that. And as I said, Delegate Kilgore, I've got a big listening base down there listening to me right now, and you know they're driving to work wondering if they're going to have their job in 60 days.
Oh yeah,
I mean, this is serious
depressing.
Stuff.
The calls we get here in my office, and folks losing their jobs, folks moving out of the area, moving moving west to Wyoming where they're mining coal, moving to Alabama where they're mining coal. It's just really hurting our whole region right now.
All right, I got about 2 minutes remaining. Delegate Kilgore, I want to get to the gun compromise outlined on Friday by Terry McAuliffe. We're in favor of it. I think it's a good deal. Look, we're in a divided government. Nobody's going to get 100%. And to me, any deal where both sides of the aisle are mad is probably a good deal for the state of Virginia. What say you?
I support. Like you, I support the deal. One of the main items that the Southwest Virginia delegation came up here with, we had to have reciprocity because we live right on the Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina border. Our folks go in and out of those states daily and have to have need their firearms for their protection, concealed carry permits. So that was one of our main goals when we came here. And yes, nobody gets exactly what they want, but as you say, as I said earlier, no's not a solution. We got to move forward, and we got to protect the Second Amendment rights.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank Delegate Terry Kilgore, Republican 1st District, Southwest Virginia, for being with us, sir, and keep fighting for jobs in Southwest Virginia. And I love your mantra, which is you can't say the word no without some solution for jobs in your area. I think you're onto something there, sir.
Hey, stay warm in New Hampshire.
All right, we'll be bringing you all the action back. We want to thank Delegate Terry Kilgore for being with us.